My name is Therese Ruth Howard. It's my pleasure to be a scholar here once again at the Pillow in the closing week. Again, I'd like to shout out all the many hands that make it possible here. It's my pleasure to sit today with the artistic director of the Tulsa Ballet, Marcello Angelini.
Thank you. And I do have the accent that goes with the name.
So Marcello, first of all, welcome you and Tulsa Ballet to the Pillow. I'd like to ask, I'd like to ask, what does being at the Pillow mean to you as an artistic director and as a company?
Well, confession, I have been trying to get to the Pillow for at least 15, 20 years. This is the number one, the oldest, the most prestigious dance festival in this country. And it has been my dream, at least for 20 years, to perform here. So,
well, welcome.
You can see how red I am. That's how nervous I am watching the company perform in this space. So thank you very much for welcoming them. Thank you.
So, given that, it's very weighted. How do you begin the process of deciding which pieces you are going to present?
Well, there are a couple of things to keep in mind. One is your ideal pieces, and then there are circumstances, the time that you can prepare them. So it has to be something that was created not long ago, something that the company looks good in, but interestingly enough, if I could choose among almost any pieces the company has done, those are the three pieces that I would like to take. Because, number one, all three of them are created on the company. And this is something that is very important to us in Tulsa. You know, we want to preserve the tradition of classical ballet. We want to bring all the top dances of the top choreographers of the 20th century, but we are committed to creating new works. So much so that in 2008, the board allowed me to raise money and build a 300-seat theater that is dedicated to creating new works. And we do between 3 and 5 new works every single season. And so, you know, at the end of the day, we look at Swan Lake, we look at The Sleeping Beauty, we look at all the classics. Those were contemporary ballets back then. They didn't even know the steps, you know. Petipa was choreographing something and the ballet masters were writing down so that they could teach those steps in the school. Well, it's up to us now to create new works so that 100 years from now, people can see who we are. And so at least 3 works a year, most of the time 4 or 5.
So to that point, how do you go about choosing the choreographers that you will ask to commission? Because in our field, oftentimes, there is a tight bubble of names of people who get circulated around the industry. Is it a combination of the people that are doing work presently in the field? Are you looking for new, fresh voices that you want to introduce into the field? What's your process?
So, number one, everything is important because a dance maker, in order to fulfill their potential, they need to make dances. It doesn't matter where they are in their career. So there are different processes. For example, let's talk about tonight's performance. Andrew McNichol, Wayne McGregor, they did a couple of works for us, introduced him to me probably 7, 8 years ago. Andrew looks 18 now, he looked about 13 back then. I'm very jealous about it. That's why I'm pointing this out. And since that time, I kept looking at him and looking at the progress of his work, the progress of his choreography. And at a certain point, after 3 or 4 years of watching his process, then I realized, okay, this is the perfect time for him to come and work with our company. Unfortunately, the pandemic hit. Nevertheless, I asked him to create a piece from London on Zoom for the company, and it was a fantastic piece. And then he came back, I brought him back, and he created a brand new Cinderella for us, his first full length. I love to commission first full length young choreographers. So that's the process with Andrew. Kasia Katarzyna, I have been following her career as a choreographer since she started choreographing at Stuttgart Ballet. She did about 6 or 8 pieces there. And you know, you look at them, and then you feel this is the right time for them to commission a new work for us. Also for Kasia, was the first work in this country, so introducing a new choreographer here. When it comes to Nicky Fonte, Nicky is an established choreographer. He can pull everything out of a company. I have known him since he was 24, so about 33 years. Him, I didn't say me, him. I can tell his age, not mine. 61, and I still remember, you know, we were dancing together in Le Grand Ballet Canadien, and Nicky was the guy that was always in the corner doing what we called convulsions, and he's like, "Oh, Nicky, will you please stop?" And Nicky always turned around and goes, "One day you will pay me a lot of money because I will be a famous choreographer." Guess what? He was right.
I actually had the opportunity to work with you and the company on another one of those commissions. It was about 2 years ago for the 100th anniversary of the Tulsa Massacre. You brought in Jennifer Archibald, who is a Black Canadian ballet choreographer, to create a work specifically about that. Can you talk a little bit about that process?
Yes, that's the other thing that is wonderful about Tulsa, and Tulsa Ballet especially. We like to push the boundaries. We are not the kind of company that will stay within the parameters of what you expect us to be. Our board is wonderful, and they are all for, again, pushing the envelope. So, 2021, Tulsa Race Massacre, the 100th anniversary of the Tulsa Race Massacre. I went to the board. I offered to raise the money to create a work. I don't know the right word, celebrate, but it's not a celebration. Something that would bring up the story with the physicality that only dance and Jennifer Archibald can portray, so that people could experience that particular very dark episode in the history of our city. But that's not all. I mean, look at Tchaikovsky. I commissioned, yeah.
But I wanna talk about the way that, because Tulsa is a very particular city with a very particular history, and so in order to tell that story, you can't tell that story in the absence of Black bodies. So the idea of engaging 8 Black ballet and modern dancers to come into the space and create with that very sensitive material, created a process for your company. And the piece was multimedia. She'd done research with and interviews with Black and white Tulsans about not what happened, but what is happening and how much has not changed, and those wounds. And so that work, your dancer, it was at a very different process for your dancers. Is there anything that was left over from that process that might have even creatively impacted? I
mean, everybody took a step forward in understanding the history of this country and understanding the trauma that is still around. But when we look at Tulsa Ballet, and you know, because you were there, you helped us get through that very difficult process. We are a company with 11 different nationalities. People come from all over the world, different cultures, different religions, different skin colors. We are the embodiment of being different. And so the thing that worried a lot of Black dancers about how they would be perceived by the company, that was the first thing that got out of the way within 15 minutes. They felt totally at home because they are all different from each other, but there is a glue that connects them. They are all very good humans. They are all very good dancers. They all accept each other. And if they're not like that, I don't take them. Because let's face it, I see 1,500 dancers every year, and this particular year there is one new dancer in the company. And I will never forget that the best moment for me personally of that process was when we were at the town hall and the dancer said, you know, we wish every ballet company in the United States was like Tulsa Ballet. That was the moment that I said, okay, here is the $250,000 for this ballet. I'm so happy I did it.
The question is, do you ever do works in Norman, Stillwater, or Oklahoma City?
Well, there are in Oklahoma City there is another company, and we try not to go on each other's territory. But the company does tour quite a bit. We tour a lot in Europe, Far East, and now we tour at Jacob's Pillow.
And that's a wonderful way to close us up. We want to thank you, Marcello, and the beautiful dancers. Welcome to the Pillow. I'm sure it will not be your last time. Thank you so much for coming, and good evening.
Thank you.